So at this point in the Active Travel Newsroom, we're going to catch up with Janet Dyer, who is the Transport Development Officer at Leicester City Council. Thank you for joining us, Janet.
Hello, thank you very much for asking me to join you.
Okay, no, you're very welcome. And of course, we've got Anna and Mel again from Sustrans joining us as well. What I'd really like to talk to you about, Janet, is first of all, what does a Transport Development Officer do?
Well, there are quite a lot of transport development officers at the City Council, and they all do slightly different things, but obviously to do with transport and developing it to make it more sustainable in Leicester. What I do particularly is I'm working the walking and cycling team, so it's about I get involved in traffic calming projects, residential personal travel planning, where we go and knock on people's doors and ask them how they're travelling and are there ways that they could be doing it differently and maybe suggest different things that they could try. Also, we do lots of community events in our team, so I kind of get involved in trying to work out what community events we're going to put on and where they'll be, how big they are, who's going, because we work with lots of different partners, so that who of those partners can come along on that day and help support that event. And I also do travel grants for businesses. So there's a whole load of stuff going on there, because the walking and cycling team, we have funding coming in from different sources, and we have like 3 strands to the work that we do. We have a business strand, a school strand, and community strand. So we kind of have people working on all those different aspects.
I wonder actually if anybody's aware of that. I just think that's the thing that's always been so fascinating doing what I do, and knowing lots of different people like Mel and Anna. When you find out what people get up to do in their work roles, whether it's for the City Council or for a local charity or even a business to an extent, that all of this stuff that goes on, and of course none of it is probably of interest to the mainstream media for educating other people. And so until you come across that project, or you knock on my door and I suddenly find out that these ways that you can help me to be active, and particularly the fact that maybe with businesses, I'm assuming businesses is that kind of access to grants for things like e-bikes and all these kind of things.
We do that, yes, but also we can arrange a staff travel roadshow where people come in and find out about how they can buy discounted bus passes and all this sort of thing. Right. Maybe they might want to purchase a bike, and there's ways that you can purchase a bike with through a salary sacrifice scheme and that sort of thing, which obviously until somebody tells you, you maybe won't realize that there's different ways you can go about these things.
Absolutely, it's about the information, isn't it? But you can only do it when someone either tells you or you've accessed the information. Yeah. So can I ask you, how do you know these 2 ladies? These 2
ladies, they work
next to me on the screen.
They work for Sustrans, which is one of our partner organisations. So they're an integral part of our organisation. They would normally be all sitting in the office with us, but we're all working from home and enjoying ourselves. Yeah, on Zoom calls and things like that. Absolutely. But we do occasionally meet up out and about, outside of school, perhaps. We have spent a lot of time getting the schools back safely in the last sort of year or so. So on 2 occasions, Anna's just been out again recently to make sure they're all going back safely, and things are running smoothly outside.
And again, most of the time people don't realise, a bit like that information, is the fact that there's collaboration going on with organisations that are experts and knowledgeable in delivering these kind of projects, or kind of access and stuff like that. I mean, is Sustrans one of those integral partners that actually aid the City Council to be able to do so much more than it would if it was just an internal position?
We feel that is the case, because they bring a lot. They have a whole national structure, and obviously they bring knowledge from other cities and towns where they're working with other people, so that they kind of bring that knowledge from their organisation into the City Council. So that helps us. So the other people at Sustrans are working in different cities and towns around the place. And they may be at a different stage in certain projects to us, so they might be able to say, oh, well, when we did that, such and such happened, maybe you should do it this way instead.
Absolutely, so taking into account all of those different things, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it was interesting talking to one of the schools the other day. I think it was with Anna, and he was saying about closing the street outside, and then the neighbours opposite in terraced houses, because they never get the sun on that side of the street because they can't sit out on the street, all came out and were sitting there watching the children cycling up and down. And I think that's a kind of real community thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's always good. Yeah.
So Anna, coming to you first, as a schools officer, what sort of things would you be doing with schools that would then draw on the sort of things that Janet and any of her colleagues do as transport development officers?
Yeah, sure. So as Janet was mentioning, that there's kind of different strands to how we all work, but we try and link them as well. So we might be doing some work in a school, but we know in the half-term holidays coming up, there's going to be a community event nearby. And it makes perfect sense for us to be talking to those schools and then those families feeding into that community event. And then we might be able to get to talk to parents about how they travel to their workplace and think, is there any other ways they could potentially do that, and open doors to things like the bus pass scheme and e-bikes and things like that. So wherever possible, we try and sort of join things up. It works better for us. It works better for our partners as well. And like our community events, we all come together because we can all bring us something a little bit different. We like to think whoever attends that will be something for that person. So it's great for us, and I think it's great for the City Council too.
Yeah. So Mel, I mean, one of the things that we've been really touching on with head teachers, teaching assistants, right through to sort of, you know, parents and children, is the fact that there's this holistic approach when it comes to active travel. You know, it's everybody can get involved. It's everybody's responsibility. It's not about ditching the car. It's about making changes to choices around travel and stuff. Do you think many of the parents, for example, of the children that you guys have access to in schools through Sustrans really are even aware of things like subsidised bike schemes or any of that kind of stuff?
Well, it's kind of like, as Anna and Janet said, it's kind of our role to try and get those messages out, and we do that through a variety of means. And so, yeah, so for example, during this last lockdown, Anna and myself have been sending out resource packs to schools on a weekly basis, and a lot of those have involved messages that can be sent to parents. So sometimes we'll send something to schools which has like here's a sample parent mail you can send out, and that can often make them aware of things that are available to them. We've just this week, Anna's just sending out one about sort of focusing on Easter and having fun with cycling at Easter, and really signposting parents to lots of different resources. So one is how to teach your child to ride a bike without stabilizers, no matter what age they are. Things about how to access cycle shops and information about cycle shops, and routes and safe routes and things like that. So yeah, so I think the sort of the idea about the holistic side of things is that if you want to have an impact on culture, you do need to engage with all the different stakeholders. And what's great, I was just thinking as Janet was talking earlier, how I feel like sometimes I'm like in that middle of a Venn diagram sometimes. So we've got the walking and cycling circle and the Sustrans circle, and I really do feel, just like Janet described, there's real advantage for being in that position because we can bring things in from both sides, and it really helps us to be more holistic.
Yeah, that kind of power of collaboration, isn't it? It kind of gets missed on people, I think, sometimes. So just to wrap up, because again, you guys are all busy, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and on the Active Travel Newsroom, is to Janet, just to think about sort of, you know, the City Council as an employer, for example, at this moment, because it's easy for someone to turn around and say, oh, the City Council should put cycling in, they should put better walking things in, all the, you know, that kind of responsibility, if you like, as an authority. But obviously you work for the City Council, they are your employer. Are they as accommodating to you as an employee as they are to the messages that they send out to other people? I'm assuming that is the case, but I mean, are there specific things that you can access as well, like to be able to get bikes and stuff?
Yeah, there's a cycle to work scheme, so you can go and get a bike on a salary sacrifice if you want to. We have bike parking for the City Council employees at most of the buildings, and if they haven't got them now, then they'll probably be planning to try and get some in future. What else? Yeah, there's other, you can get like discounted bus tickets and things like that as well. And also we do like an in-house staff travel roadshow, so that all that information is sort of available to people, and we bring in a doctor bike in that as well generally. So if you've got problems with your bike, you can come and get it sorted out. That's all for like City Council staff.
And as an employer, I'm not sure how big they are when it comes to the sort of the top 10 employers in the city, but obviously they've got a great way of promoting what an employer can do for their employees when it comes to this kind of active travel agenda by telling people what they do. I mean, do you get involved in things for other employers as well to tell them about the schemes that are available, not just focusing on the public, but actually on employers as well?
We do engage with businesses, and so we take out a staff travel roadshow if that's what the business would like us to do. And we've certainly worked with the universities and the hospitals to do that sort of thing. And certainly, yeah, we've taken doctor bikes and things like that to the hospitals.
Well, okay, so I'm going to go around you guys just to wrap up now. Okay, so I'll start with Anna. What's the thing do you think is the one thing that your average person could do under the active travel agenda that would make a real difference to them, their environment, the family, the community around them? I
think, like we've been saying this week, it starts small. You don't give yourself a goal that's maybe unachievable, or at the start you're thinking, that's just not going to happen for me. Start small, build it up. So, if you could change one journey a week, be it to a workplace or to a visit to a friend or a shop, just one journey, see how it goes. At first you might need to change things a little bit, but that's fine, because we all do that anyway, don't we? Whether we're whatever mode of travel we change. So give it a go and try it again and build up from there. If you can start with one, then maybe in a month's time you could go to two, just build it up bit by bit, because every journey that we change and use something that's a little bit more environmentally friendly, and that's great for everybody and for our health and well-being too. So start small, build it up, and give yourself praise for doing it.
Yeah, and tell people what you're doing and why you're doing it and that kind of stuff. I like that. Okay, so Mel.
So I'm going to build on what Anna said and say start small, and but draw to a slightly different area in terms of thinking about, look at your journeys and look at how far they are. So the start small I would suggest is, if you do any journeys of half a mile or less in your car ever, try that first. Think, right, how can I do this differently? Do I need a shopping trolley so that I can get to the shops that are less than half a mile away and use that? And then build up from there. So half a mile to start with, right? So my first target is, by this end of that month, I don't want to be doing any journeys in a car within half a mile. Next month, a mile. Next month, a mile and a half, and build it up that way. So I kind of stolen Anna's idea and just built on it.
Well, that's all right, because she paid me via PayPal to let her go first, so she got the easy option. So there we go. And so, I mean, Janet, not thinking of your city council role as such now, but any of your friends, your friendship circle that you've got, your family that know that you're involved in, like, transport development and stuff like that. Maybe you're interested in cycling. I've seen you on a bike many times throughout Leicester streets over the years, skyride and stuff. What sort of suggestions would you say to someone of what they could do in order to take part in this?
Choose how you move. I think about what trip you're doing, how long it is, what's the best way for you to do that trip. So if it's a very short trip, like Mel was saying, very short trip to the shops, get yourself a trolley and just trundle down to the shops, fill the trolley up, bring it back. That's maybe the best way to do that trip. If you're going on a longer journey, maybe you do need to think about going on a train or going on a bus. Whatever's sensible for the journey you're doing. Don't just every single trip, oh, the car's outside, I'll get in the car. Don't do that. Think about it and choose carefully. What is the best way for me to do that trip? It depends how many people you're taking with you as well. Is it just you on your own, or if you're taking 4 other people with you? Think about it. Make Brilliant. The best choices for what you're doing. It
sounds like all of us are in that kind of, start small, do what you can, and you make a difference
Definitely.
by doing those smaller things.
I think there's small steps, big differences. I think that's what our campaign is, isn't it? Getting that out there, that message.
There we go. What a great way to end. Thank you very much, Janet, Mel and Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.